At 6 in the morning, on a late summer day in the year 79, a city of 20,000 people woke up and went about their lives, certain they had all the time in the world. They did not know that by nightfall, most of them would be gone. This is the story of the last day anyone in Pompeii would ever see. Stand in the forum of Pompeii as the sun rises, and you would see a city that believed itself eternal. Marble columns catch the early light. Bakers are already sliding loaves into brick ovens. Somewhere above the rooftops, a mountain sits quietly on the horizon, green with vineyards, the way it always has. No one in this city calls it dangerous. To them, it is simply Vesuvius, a good neighbour that gives them fertile soil and mild winters. What none of them know is that the mountain has been sleeping for centuries, and that morning is the last morning of that sleep. By 7, the streets of Pompeii are already loud. Cartwheels grind over stone ruts worn smooth by decades of traffic. Vendors shout the price of fish, still slick from the harbour. In the bathhouses, wealthy merchants argue about business, while slaves stoke the furnaces beneath the floor. Pompeii is not a backwater. It is a thriving Roman resort town, home to wine merchants, wool traders, and villas with painted walls and gardens fed by aqueducts. 17 years earlier, a massive earthquake tore through the region, and the city spent nearly 2 decades rebuilding, patching cracks, repainting frescoes, convincing itself that the worst was behind it. That earthquake, historians now believe, was Vesuvius clearing its throat. Nobody heard the warning. Life simply continued, because life always does, right up until the moment it doesn't. Just after noon, something changes. Witnesses later describe a tremor, subtle at first, barely enough to rattle a wine cup. Then comes a sound unlike anything the city has heard, a deep, tearing boom that rolls down from the summit of Vesuvius. In the forum, conversations stop mid-sentence. Merchants look up. Birds scatter from the rooftops in a single sudden motion, as though they know something the humans do not. Across the bay, a young man is watching too, and he will later write to a historian describing what rises next. A column of ash and smoke erupting into the sky, spreading at the top like the branches of a pine tree. It is beautiful, in the way that only something terrible can be beautiful. And still, remarkably, many in Pompeii do not run. By early afternoon, the column has climbed 20 miles into the atmosphere, and it begins to collapse under its own weight, raining pumice down on the city below. Small grey stones, light as sponge, patter onto rooftops, then onto shoulders, then into open mouths turned up in disbelief. Within an hour, the sky that was blue at breakfast is black at mid-afternoon. People light lamps in the middle of the day. Some flee toward the harbour, hoping for ships. Others shelter in their homes, believing, as people so often do, that walls will save them. The pumice keeps falling, inch by inch, hour by hour, until roofs begin to groan and then collapse under the accumulating weight, trapping families in the very rooms where they had hidden for safety. As darkness swallows Pompeii entirely, the real horror is only beginning. Sometime after midnight, the volcano's column can no longer sustain itself, and it collapses downward instead of outward, sending a scorching wave of gas, ash, and rock racing down the mountainside at speeds no human could outrun. The first surge does not quite reach the city. The next one does. In an instant, temperatures spike hot enough to end everything in a breath, and hundreds of people, huddled together in cellars and courtyards, are gone before they can complete a scream. Their bodies will not decay in the way bodies usually do. Instead, ash will harden around them, preserving the exact shape of their final moment. A mother curled around her child, a dog straining against its chain, a man with his hand still raised to shield his face. By the following morning, Pompeii no longer exists as a city. It exists as a memory buried under 20 feet of ash and stone, silent, sealed, and strangely intact. The eruption did something almost impossible. In destroying the city instantly, it also preserved it perfectly. Bread still sits in ovens. Graffiti still marks the walls with jokes and insults from people who never got to laugh at the response. For nearly 17 centuries, Pompeii sleeps beneath the earth, forgotten by everyone except the mountain that buried it, until farmers and treasure hunters begin stumbling across its edges in the 1700s, and the world realizes that an entire Roman city has been waiting underground the whole time, frozen in the exact second its story ended. And yet, despite the fire, the ash, and 18 centuries of silence, Pompeii never truly disappeared. It simply waited. Today, visitors walk the same stone streets that merchants once crossed at dawn, stand in bakeries where loaves still bear the imprint of an oven that never got the chance to open, and look up at the same mountain that once turned an ordinary morning into the end of the world. History has a way of doing that, of surviving the very disasters meant to erase it. If this journey into the last hours of Pompeii pulled you in, consider subscribing for more stories the past refuses to let go of, and in the comments tell me, which lost city or forgotten moment in history should we bring back to life next?